Hello and welcome to another episode of the Video Creator Show. My name is Grant. I'm here with my co-host Augie, and today we are talking about a bunch of YouTubers that are inspiring us lately, and maybe more than inspiring us. It's really interesting to see what these people are doing, how they are growing their channels and making their careers happen, and just kind of staying in the game in a way that they enjoy and is really enjoyable to watch. Because at least, you know, we've talked a lot about kind of burnout and keeping ideas going on this podcast. And when you see somebody who is doing it big and is really presenting themselves online in a way that is really dope, it's contagious, and we just want to share this really this excitement with all of you today. All right, we're into the meat of it now. The first guy I want to share, his channel is called Dax Flame. Have you heard of this dude, Augie? He's been on YouTube forever. Like since I think 2009 is when his channel was created. It was like early YouTube. He was like a teenager, and he would just talk to a camera about like something that happened on the school bus that day, or something funny that happened when he was hanging out with his friends. Just total talking head video. And his YouTube career kind of peaked, and he didn't star, but he was an actor in the film Project X and one other one. Was it 21 Jump Street? Basically two kind of big films back around 2010, that kind of era. And his channel has kind of gone down, and he's basically at a point in his life where he's about 30, so he's about my age, and he is making a little bit of money, but not quite enough to sustain living in Los Angeles. It sounds like he's not irresponsible with his money, but he has talked about all of this on his channel, and he has dedicated the next year to making his YouTube career work again. So the question is, how is he going to do this? He has tried so many things over the years, but this time it might be different because he is using AI to make his channel work again. So you've probably heard of ChatGPT, and this is it's an AI that you can essentially ask anything. So he for instance, his last video is just him hanging out with a friend, and he asks ChatGPT, hey, so this friend he's hanging out with is an actor, and he asks this AI, what can I do while hanging out with a friend who happens to be an actor? And it just spat out a bunch of normal things to do, like, oh, well, you could play cards or cook some food or go for a walk. And so this guy is a little, I guess, socially, I guess, like, awkward or reserved, and he's very lovable, don't get me wrong. But the fact he's using a robot to facilitate social interaction is really funny. His audience is really into it and like, oh my God, you're totally the guy who would use a robot to facilitate social interaction. So anyway, he also has another video called Texting Bo Burnham. So you might know Bo Burnham is a musician. He does a lot of funny music that's also really catchy. And so in one of his recent videos, he asked the AI, how can I grow a YouTube channel? And one thing it told him was to collaborate with other creators. So he's like, okay, well, I guess I'll make a video about reaching out to Bo Burnham with AI. So he asked it to generate a message to Bo Burnham, and then he made a few edits and just sent it off. And that was essentially the whole video. So he posts about every 2 to 3 days now, and he's using this robot to generate content, essentially. So, Augie, I'm curious, like, first thoughts on this. Do you think this is insane? Is it worth it? Is it cool? Obviously, like, I don't, you haven't really seen his videos necessarily, but it's a pretty cool idea, huh?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are going to start using ChatGPT in their content and stuff, and I think it's good and bad. but this specific YouTuber, I've never heard of him before, but I did check out his channel right now as you were talking, and yeah, I mean, on Social Blade it says he created his channel in 2007, and like you said, he's 30 years old now, so he definitely over the years uploaded about 280 videos. And you can see on his channel, it's like starting from a boy into a man. I mean, how many years is that? It's 2023. So that's 10, 16 years, 15 years. So from 15 years old to 30, grown man, it's his life is kind of documented on there. It sounds like he's probably gone through a whole bunch over the years, different kind of formats of content. I'm sure he's had skits. I'm sure he's done reaction videos. I'm sure he's done talking head. Maybe, I don't know. I didn't look. What would you say? Has he? I mean, how many years have you actually followed him?
So I actually started following him recently. I didn't even know he existed until a couple weeks ago. I believe the first video I watched of his was I'm using AI to transform my finances and love life. Actually, no, letting AI control my life for a year. This video right here. This was the first one I actually watched of him. And then you can see kind of by the red bars here, I've been watching all of his recent videos. So this to me is pretty inspiring, right? We've talked about kind of rejuvenating a YouTube channel that isn't doing as hot as it once was. And this guy is essentially putting himself out there and figuring it out. It's really fascinating and also hilarious. I mean, I don't know, you can't really see sound, but he's just sort of hanging out with a friend here, and then he'll just ask him, like, oh, what do I do with my friend? And then they'll literally cook an egg together. So anyway, I thought this guy was really interesting. Augie, why don't you share somebody who is blowing your mind right now?
Yeah, I will. But first, I want to kind of give a little bit more feedback on what this guy's doing right and stuff, because he doesn't have a huge channel. You know, for that many years, he's got about 550,000 subscribers, which is good. But for that many years, I mean, I'm sure he is not exactly where he wants to be. And you know, I think he's doing this for creative purposes anyways. This is not was never a play on money for him. It's more of a cool creative outlet, and his videos, I think, from what I see, look really, really funny and stuff. But, you know, if you look at his videos as of late, you can see, you know, let's go back, you know, 1 month, 14,000 views, 19,000 views, 73,000 views. And now he's into the AI video. Okay. 9 days ago, 68,000 views. 63,000 views, 40,000 views, 55,000 views. And I think there is a little bit of a boost, because if I go back, you know, even further, some views, you know, like 13,000. I'm seeing some videos kind of low. These AI videos, I think, are working for him. And if he's going to kind of do like a penny challenge, right, where I have 30 days to turn this penny into a trip to deliver it to Mr. Beast. I don't know the full storyline. That's Ryan Trahan, right? But now this guy's saying, I'm going to use AI to control my YouTube channel and my life for this full year. It's almost like another challenge. I assume this could be his big breakthrough if he sticks with it, because AI is trending so hard right now. And even you said, hey, I just ran across his channel, whatever, a few weeks ago. It's because you watched some other AI video or some other Chat GPT video, Grant, and then they recommended this one to you. It had AI in the title, and you enjoyed it. So I think he's got a bright future.
Yeah, he really does. And just to wrap up this guy, Dax Flame, he also has successfully been collaborating with other creators as well. So Joel Haver, you can see 1.7 million subscribers. You can see here's Dax right here in this video very recently. And like I think the fact that he's doing this so boldly and openly is getting him a lot of attention, and other YouTubers they respect that. You know, I think deep down, we're all kind of worried about, like, oh, what if my channel goes down? So when they see somebody who's kind of down on their luck and figuring it out, but has a lot of potential, that they're really willing to help out and also just collaborate, have fun with you. So I think this guy is awesome, and I really wish him the best. I'm going to be watching his videos moving forward.
I want to remind you that today's episode is brought to you by vidchops.com, which is a flat rate video editing service that allows you to take the burden of editing totally off your hands so that you can focus on more important things in your business. So go ahead, check out vidchops.com if you want to add an expert video editor to your team in just a few clicks. That's vidchops.com. And now back to today's episode. Yeah, and he's a smart guy too. He understands trends. Good for him. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about mine now. And, and, we're just sharing YouTube channels that inspire us, or just, we all spend so much time on YouTube. We go through so many creators, which ones to you inspire you, think about it, and which ones stand out to you, or which ones just have cool stories, cool YouTube journeys. Like this guy, he's an OG, man, 15 years. So now he's 30 years, 15 years making videos, and has a pretty cool channel, and, has a little bit of fame off it. And, I'm sure he supplements his income or even goes full time with that, so props to him. The one I have is interesting to me because his channel was actually created in 2006. And I've mentioned him one time on this podcast on some random episode. I just put it into the chat. This is Dre Baldwin with Dre All Day, creating basketball videos. Now, listen, when I was living in Germany, my very first time, this was 2009, I couldn't watch TV. It was all dubbed in German. This is when I first started watching YouTube. And there was not much on YouTube in 2009 that was like super high quality. I was into basketball. So I find this guy's basketball training channel where he's basically filming himself doing drills, not doing any talking. It's just like a 2-minute video, sometimes even less, 30-second video of him doing like a certain move, no talking. And he's posting them, right? At this point, he has over 8,000 videos on his YouTube channel because he has not stopped. He has not stopped. And even back then he was posting I think he posts a video a day. I don't know if he still does. I'm going to pull up his channel right now. It's been a little bit. But the interesting part about this guy is he is a victim to the YouTube algorithm. Meaning when YouTube, and I've talked about this, happened to my channel too a little bit, but when YouTube said, all right, all we care about is watch time, and this guy's channel already had thousands of videos that were 30 seconds long, that were a minute 30 long. And he's at this point, think about it. If you had 8,000 videos on your channel, just think to yourself right now, listeners, how many subscribers would you expect yourself to have? How many do you think you would want? Well, this guy's got about, 130,000 subscribers, 141,000 subscribers. So not a ton for 8,000 plus videos. And now at this point, but the thing that's so cool about him is he's basically parlayed this whole thing into a brand called Work on Your Game. And he's a business coach. He has other businesses that he runs besides YouTube. And he's a speaker, and he makes a full-time living off basically being a content creator. I'm trying to bring up one of his most recent videos just to see I think he's mostly just talking about life. He's an author. He's written like 4 or 5 books. But yeah, Grant, what are your initial thoughts on this guy's channel?
I mean, first of all, the fact that he's been posting almost every day for 11 years is insane. And yeah, there's a lot of channels that have been victim to the YouTube algorithm. Also, props to him for kind of transforming into a brand. So when I look at his recent videos, he's getting less than 100 views on a lot of his videos now. But the fact that he's been able to spin his kind of YouTube success into Work on Your Game University. Now, I don't know exactly how well it's doing, but I'm guessing the fact you're talking about him, I'm guessing he's got some success with that. So I think this is part of the life cycle of a lot of YouTubers, right? Is you get a lot of fame initially or at some point in your career, and then the question becomes, what do you do with it? The fact that he found something else to do that capitalized on the attention he was getting is huge. Especially like it's hard to keep people's attention for a decade. So you can't necessarily maintain a certain level of attention, but you can build a business around it and kind of use that attention to jumpstart a business. And then once you get that going, then you can kind of build a brand elsewhere. I don't know. I'm sure he's on Instagram and maybe he's on LinkedIn and just kind of all these other places where he's not blowing up on YouTube anymore, but he can still have this kind of brand that started from YouTube.
Exactly. Yeah. And the fact that he has uploaded a video a day for so long, like there's wisdom that he has that, that can be shared and that's valuable. Like, how do you do that? And, only he has the answer. So I think that's kind of what he shares is, the work ethic, the mindset. He's one of those kind of coaches, which, as an author, that's what you do. When you're an author, you go around, you speak, you teach kind of your methods, and for him, he creates content. So pretty cool channel, and definitely an OG of the game. 8,000 videos. Hopefully that will inspire whoever's listening to this to just get out there and hit record and stop overthinking it, because you want to build that library, because it's going to parlay into something else. And that's how it works in life. You do one thing well, it's going to parlay into something else. So as long as you do that first thing, you're going to be able to do that second thing. So you need to get out there, make your videos, hit record. And I'm talking to myself.
Aren't we all, Augie?
Yeah.
Aren't we all?
So Grant, go ahead and jump into your next channel, man. I got one more after this.
Sure, yeah, as do I. So the next channel is called Pinely. So I'll share my screen, and there we go. So anyway, he has a really attractive, adorable banner. Doesn't tell you much about his channel, but it's a blue sky with a smiley pine box. But what this guy does is he essentially talks about YouTube trends and kind of what's going on. So the first video of his I watched was called The Mr. Beastification of YouTube. And this was a fascinating video where I'm sure you've seen this, Augie. I'm sure anybody listening has also seen this. So there's a lot of YouTubers who have seen the success of Mr. Beast, and they have tried to copy not just his editing style, but his cadence of speaking, the idea of there was one Mr. Beast copycat where the video was throwing $10,000 out of a plane, and then people would like try to skydive after it or something like that. It was preposterous. And he's just talking about how kind of annoying this is. There was one video where I can't believe this was real. This guy, he made a video called Spending 100 Hours in the World's Poorest Country. And he's just exploiting poverty. I mean, I'm laughing, but it's really messed up. It's just like so preposterous that somebody would do this to copy Mr. Beast. And so Pinely has sort of exposed these people, and his style of video is very interesting. So here, I'll kind of show you some visuals here. And, he's got kind of a catchy intro here where he's sort of reacting to all these Mr. Beast copycats and how annoying they are. Look, I mean, this guy's like shoving money on the table.
So he basically, so he's revealing all of these kind of copycats. Is that the idea? Okay. I love that. That's a great format. Great topic.
Yeah. And one thing, like for me as somebody who makes videos, once we kind of get into the meat of the video here, so it seems like he records his videos kind of one paragraph at a time, one section at a time. So you can see here, he's just like, he's got a camera. He's probably sitting on his bed with a microphone, just kind of talking. And he has some like kind of cool lighting, but he doesn't have a super fancy set or anything. And then you can see, okay, now over here, he's somewhere else. And I think this is sort of, he's able to, in the moment, just like set up a tripod, talk into his microphone and record.
I
And
dig that.
yeah, he doesn't have to like reset up in the same place every time. It kind of mixes up the video.
Hmm.
I feel like it's just easier to film in general. I mean, he has a mic that he just holds up to his face. Um, I I like this a lot. And then I mean, yeah, he's always changing sections and kind of riffing off of what he wrote. He does script his videos, but he clearly like he doesn't read word for word or anything. I mean, you can see he's kind of like looking around and he's going off the cuff, and really he gets his emotions into it, which always makes things more interesting. Like it's not robotic at all, and he has really good takes on things. And then he recently had so he had a video how to radicalize a celebrity. So he basically talks about Kanye West, kind of Dave Chappelle, and the controversies surrounding them. I think he mostly focused on Kanye, but in all of his, you know,
Hmm.
things that have been happening recently. But then he had a channel. Well, then he had a guy who reacted to his video, which he liked. But then there was a third channel that uploaded the reaction to his video and then made a bunch of money off of it. And that's how to steal a YouTube video. This is his video talking about that whole weird situation where a third channel stole a video of a second channel reacting to his video. Which is it's just such a ridiculous thing to happen. But it's really fascinating kind of seeing him blow up like this and just kind of get involved in these weird controversies. Yeah, Hassan Reacts, maybe you've heard of him,
Hmm.
reacted to Pinely's video. Yeah, and then this other weird. So Hassan Compilations is a channel that is just run by some dark figure stealing Hassan's content, and then ended up stealing Pinely's content by accident. So I think this guy is just really interesting. It kind of shows I've always felt like, oh, I have to set up a camera in one place and just film there. And this guy, he seems like, okay, I'm sitting in bed, I feel like filming, just here we go.
Hmm.
And for me, it's good to know that that works. So I'll probably be utilizing that sort of format vaguely in the future. And I like this guy. He's dope.
Yeah, it's a great format to just, I mean, even in one bedroom, you can probably set up like 8 different looks. You know, if you just sit on the ground, you sit on your bed, you stand in a corner. And I've seen people utilize that style as their style, and I like it. The switching, you know, it just kind of keeps your attention better. And also too, the whole like exposing Mr. Beast copycats. Like it reminds me of CoffeeZilla in a way, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
exposing things and like bringing justice on YouTube is huge. Like that's a huge niche that seems to do well. It's like very like a viral niche and just something that will give you what YouTube wants, watch time, right? It's going to keep people watching. It's just interesting. It's gossip, you know? And I think that's, you can create that in so many different niches, you know? Like we spoke about this before when we talked about CoffeeZilla. Like I think the example we gave was protecting the ocean or something, you know, exposing people that pollute the ocean. You have a YouTube channel about that. I love that. I love that. So cool. Yeah, great pick there. That guy seems like, I mean, how many subs did he have? Does he have?
Uh, so right now he has 317,000.
Okay, nice. Yeah, he's definitely going to be blowing up soon.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about my next pick of a channel. And this channel is actually a podcast. And I thought I would switch it up a little bit and we can just discuss, because this is actually one of the bigger podcast YouTube channels that I've seen of recent. And I've watched it grow from like 10,000 all the way up to, I think, 150,000. Nonetheless, the channel is My First Million. And we talked about it briefly before the pod. It's one of my
Mm-hmm.
favorite podcasts. The podcast is blowing up. It's two co-hosts. One is Sam Parr. He is the founder of a company called The Hustle, which was an email newsletter. And the other one is Sean Puri. Sean Puri. He used to work for Twitch. He had a startup that he sold to Twitch, and he worked there for many years. Then he has other startups that he's started and actually sold, and it's been documented on the podcast. It's pretty interesting. But the thing about their YouTube channel is they've tried a lot of different strategies. It's a podcast, right? And normally, you know, uploading a 1 hour podcast on YouTube is a little bit kind of new. It's kind of new to YouTube. I think the algorithm's still trying to figure out how to rank those, how to promote those, because I don't think people do sit down and watch 60-minute podcasts all the time on YouTube. I think they want to watch the shorts, from little clips from the podcast. I think they want to watch, you know, Joe Rogan style, which is where you take the 60-minute or the 2-hour podcast and you cut, you know, the best 15-minute, the best 10-minute clip from that podcast and post it as like a standalone YouTube video. And that's a strategy that they did use on My First Million as well. And I think it did well for them. But they have gone back recently to just posting hour-long podcasts. And let me go ahead and bring up their social blade just on my own end. So far, they've gotten 42 million views on YouTube. They created the channel in 2015, right at the beginning of 2015, so not super new. I mean, they have 880 videos on this channel, so they're at 155,000 subscribers. And, you know, it's not 879 episodes. It's probably more like 300 episodes. And then they release a lot of shorts from it. They release a lot of those 10-minute clips, or they used to. And now they have these 60-minute long ones, and they are getting about, 9.5 million views a month in December.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's huge.
8.9 million in November. But just in January, so one year ago, they got 1 million views a month. And the month before that, 70,000. So in 13 months, they've gone from 70,000 views a month, and now they're getting 9.5 million views a month. So I told you there was some growth there. What do you think about the strategy? Well, so I outlined a few different strategies there. We're talking about shorts. We're talking about full episodes, and we're talking about creating clips, like a 15 or 10-minute clip. What's your thoughts on the best strategy?
Well, I think doing all of that is the best for a podcast specifically. So one, like having a podcast on YouTube is an advantage and a disadvantage. So it's a disadvantage because there's so many podcasts, and podcasts tend to be very long, and people, they don't necessarily want to check out a 1 hour video. But as you kind of touched on, people, they will watch a 10-minute video or a YouTube short. And when you record an hour-long podcast, that is, you can generate so much content off of that. So shorts, clips, and clearly, I mean, the core of a successful podcast, obviously, is to actually have, the actual full episodes be really entertaining and valuable to people. And then once you kind of have that foundation, I think it's actually pretty easy to market a podcast on YouTube just by creating shorts and clips and posting them. It's surprisingly simple once you have that lightning in a bottle, so to speak. So I guess, can you talk a little bit more about like what this podcast is about, or like how they evolved over the years? So like how do you think they got from somewhat like they started with an idea of just them kind of talking about ideas, interviewing people, but like, did you feel like there was a sort of shift in not just the marketing with like creating clips and shorts, but in how they refined their idea? Or was it as simple as they got better at talking because they just kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it, and their chemistry got better?
I think there's a lot of factors. I think that they have gotten funnier. I think they kind of are funny to listen to, and I think they realized at some point that is a major key for them, and they kind of doubled down on that, and I think that was a little boost to what they were doing. Also, they realized the best format for their podcast was not to dive deep and do an interview with somebody, or it was not to, I don't know, talk about financials, because this is a bit about an entrepreneurship podcast. They found out that people really like it when they come up with business ideas. And so they would bring, 2 or 3 business ideas to the podcast. They would talk about their business ideas, and people enjoyed that. So there was another little boost. We're funnier. We're talking about business ideas now, that people like this. This can be cut into short clips easily. And then they just made small incremental improvements to what they did. Upgraded the cameras. They used to just record on their phones and use like the blurry zoom background that looks kind of like a DSLR background. And they've gone from that to now using mirrorless cameras. And, another cool thing that listeners of this podcast might find valuable is that they record virtually, kind of like we do. We're not in the same building. We're recording remotely. And what they have done recently, and I really thought this was cool, is they both built out custom studios for their podcast, and they're very similar. So it almost does look like they're in the room together or like in the same building. And it's got like the same style, the same kind of vibe to it. And it was the same business, I think, that created both for them. They hired somebody to do that. But it was the first time I saw somebody do that on a virtual podcast. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. They kind of match. I don't think that really equals more views or anything, but just, like I said, incremental improvements to whatever you do, whether you're a YouTuber creating videos, you're a podcast, you might get that new mic. You might upgrade that. You might find that format that works best for you. And that's all we're kind of trying to do as content creators. But just kind of last final thoughts is their audio really also fuels this channel, because they're doing, I know they said on the podcast, 2 million downloads a month on audio. And that's kind of where I think they're really blowing up. And also that helps them here on YouTube as well. But let me just click on their most popular video. It's 241,000 views. So to me, it's really the repurposing the content game that has been the big difference for them. 300 podcast episodes has turned into almost 900 uploads on their channel. And that's where I think their growth came from, was just doubling down on the upload numbers.
Yeah, I mean, once you have refined what you're doing and you're really good at it, and you're comfortable uploading a ton more content, I mean, that's huge. I think some people shoot themselves in the foot by doing that too quickly, like they're not really ready to double their uploads or something. It sounds like these guys were really patient, and they waited until the right moment. They're like, okay, we're comfortable. We're making enough money doing this. We know how to do this. We can do this twice the amount, and it's not going to be a problem. We're not going to get burned out. We're not going to be squeezing a lot out of a little. We're going to generate twice as much content, and it's going to be just as good. And that's huge. And I think it's important to be realistic about that. And it sounds like they have. I even made that mistake with Treesicle. We made too many videos too quickly, and the quality can go down if you do that at the wrong time in the wrong way. So yeah, props to these guys. My first million. All right.
Yeah, and I would say if anybody does have a video podcast, check out My First Million on YouTube and just check out their strategy. And that's a good one. Like if you just need a podcast strategy, we're going to start doing this more as well ourselves. They're killing it, man. Grant, did you have one more channel or?
I do. I mean, she's a very niche channel. I just think it's kind of interesting. But yeah, why not? We'll touch on her briefly. Here, I can share this. So this is like, not exactly a massive business or anything, but her channel is called Darling. So she's kind of like an occult figure. She started with a podcast called Occultism with a Side of Salt. And she literally, she just talks about sort of niche spiritual topics, like the 10 metaphysical virtues of a great pagan. And it's just a talking head video where she just kind of rants for 20 minutes about a topic. She also has a podcast, the Postmodern Iconoclast, and she has a pretty niche but dedicated audience. And I think so. The reason I'm bringing her up is specifically because she's not huge. So she has 29,000 subscribers. I've been following her for probably 3-ish years now. She's, I think, tripled in subscribers since then. She does have a Patreon. I don't. Oh, there it is. It's hiding. But you can see. Oh, I am sharing my screen. There we go. Can you see? Okay, well, she has 94 patrons, but basically, she is making a humble living off of this. I believe she has a job kind of outside of YouTube, but the reason I'm showing this is because, like, whatever your passions are, however obscure they might be, if you just post consistently and if you kind of network with people. So she has a Discord server that is pretty poppin'. She's in there all the time. There's a community around this. Like, you can start a channel off of basically anything and do well if you actually really truly care about what you're doing. So I just think she's interesting. Like, thoughts on this, Augie, and the sort of success in her niche?
Yeah, I think it's cool because she's an authority, like that's what it's about, right? Like you can go from nobody to the authority of a niche just by creating content online and with your phone. Like that's what's super crazy about it. And yeah, she's a thought leader. Good for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's dope. So that was that the last of your inspiring YouTubers? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't got any more.
Mm-hmm, for sure. So I feel like this is a pretty good list here. Like everybody we talked about is doing something interesting, something unique, whether that is capitalizing on fame that they had quite a few years ago and kind of starting a side business off of it, or a real business off of it, or just trying to revive a channel through unique methods, like using an AI to control your life for a year. There's so many different ways to do well on YouTube and to get people's attention, and I think this list is just a great example of don't put yourself in a box. There's a lot of different ways to pivot and to cultivate a community, however large, however small, so that you can make a living or a side income doing what is really important to you.